Before this video gets underway, I have 3 questions for you all. When you guys think of major Hollywood movie studios, what comes into your mind? Universal? Paramount? Maybe you're nostalgic and you think of MGM. You could also be a part of the older generation and have memories of RKO. Well, I could take a guess that you're all thinking of a multimedia juggernaut. The Walt Disney Company has been in business for more than 100 years, and they are most well known around the globe for their animation division. Now, for the second question, what movie pops into your head when you hear the words Disney animation? Is it Snow White? How about Lion King? Maybe you're more of a Tangled type of person. Maybe, just maybe, you're more of a Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet type of person. It's okay. There's no judging here. Anyways, to those that were thinking of Snow White, then you, my friend, are going in the right path. Finally, this is my third and final question. What goes into your mind and thoughts when I say live action animation hybrid? I'm going to assume you're thinking of a quirky, one-of-a-kind animated character with a human actor in the lead role. Yeah, that's right. We're gonna talk about the Reluctant Dragon! Yeah! What do you guys think of that transition, huh? What? You don't like it? Okay, anyways, let's get on with it. The Reluctant Dragon was Disney's 4th theatrical film and their first hybrid film since the last Alice comedy in 1927. It premiered in June 1941 while releasing to the public a week later on June 27th. Now, I would tell you where it was first screened at, but after literal days of scoundering the internet and checking every website I couldn't find it. So let's just say it premiered in New York City. It took about $600,000 to make, which doesn't sound like a lot for you infants, but for our buddies in the 1940s, that's a fortune! By using the trusty old inflation calculator, $600,000 is about $13,844,914.29. Pretty small budget considering Roger Rabbit took about $50 million to make in 1988. And since this is a VHS related show, I might as well show you the tape and what it looks like. Here it is. This tape was released in 2002 in a box set containing 2 other tapes, one being the documentary Frank and Ollie, and the other being the Walt Disney Story, which I don't own. However, this VHS set was only available to purchase at the Disney store in your local mall, and growing up, I always went there with my parents. And here's me reuniting the movie with the Disney store. Well, if this was the year 2002, and if the Disney store was even a thing now, let alone here at this dead old mall. Back to the actual tape. The case is good with the artwork staying true to every other Disney VHS release, with Walt Disney and our leading man in the bottom. We'll get to him later. Spine art? Nothing special. The back has some nice information in the blurb, as it should of course, and this picture to the right is in very noticeably lower quality than the others. Maybe it's a screen capture, or it's just that good old VHS quality at its finest. Alright, enough with the chatter. Let's open this case up and pop the tape into the VCR. Oh, and here's a fun fact. When I first bought this tape a few years ago, it still came with the original shrink wrap, but the plastic on the case looked like a shirt withering away on a shipwrecked skeleton at that point, so I took it off. Now because of that, every time I open it, this is the sound I'm greeted with. Yeah, nice and crisp. Okay, anyways, moving on. First up is the pre-movie trailers, and it's about the Frank and Ollie documentary that I had mentioned coming with the VHS earlier. In case you guys don't know, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston were 2 members of Disney's legendary group of animators, the 9 Old Men. This legendary group of animation misfits included Milt Kahl, Wooly Riderman, Mark Davis, Les Clark, Ward Kimball, Eric Larson, John Lousenberry, and of course, Frank and Ollie. They are all involved in one way or another in Disney classics starting with Les Clark working on Steamboat Willie in 1928, all the way to Eric Larson being a consultant on The Great Mouse Detective in 1986. I can go on about these guys, especially Frank and Ollie, but we got a movie to watch. The movie begins with the RKO logo and boom, title card. Now we see who worked on the movie, and of course the 9 old men are there, and many others that art animation lovers know. Look at the caricatures these knuckleheads have made, and it goes on for a bit as credits do. Then we transition to our first scene and meet our man of the hour, Robert Benchley. Played by who else but Robert Benchley. He is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most annoying character to ever grace my narcoleptic eyes. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't have a problem with Robert the actor. He seems like a nice guy that'll make you shit yourself from laughing too hard. Robert the character, however, makes you shit yourself while making eye contact so you could excuse yourself from the vicinity. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but the point is, he's stupid, he's annoying, and he's an asshole. He is also the grandfather of Peter Benchley. Okay, you guys don't know who that is either, so it's time for another side tangent. Peter, just like his granddad here, was an author as well, and he wrote a novel which got turned into a summer blockbuster. And that movie was? Yup, that's right. Peter is the writer of Jaws, and he's the grandson of our leading goofball here. Next, we see him drive into the studio. I guess she folded him with her own words and fists? Robert goes into his studio alone and is now wandering around the studio like he knows and owns the place. Now we get into the movie, and let's go through this with small chapters, shall we? Robert walks into a class for life drawing and proceeds to look like a jabroni. The art teacher shows off his students' works and even helps one student make her elephant look more cartoony. He's making the Asian elephant look more, well, look! Looks like it's about to give me a big welcome to the rice fields.
Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker.
Okay, maybe I'm looking way too deep into it, but I don't trust something made in 1941. Anyways, he then goes to look at everyone's elephant sketches before being made into one. I'm not gonna lie, this stupid little drawing got a good small chuckle out of me. After the drawing room, our great Dumbino finds himself being serenaded by a wonderful orchestra. Oh, and here comes our main singer, front and ready. Oh, Jesus. Quick man, go salvage what's left of this performance. God damn, this is actually a cameo of both voice actors of Clara and Donald, Florence Gill and Clarence Nash. Robert tries to learn Donald's voicing ways before leaving to the next room. Running away from all of that, this big galoot goes into the Foley room. While there, we hear a voice of a character in an upcoming movie. Now, we get to watch a Casey Jr. short, while the Foley artists work their magic. Behold, Technicolor! This film was released almost 2 years after Wizard of Oz, so of course they had to have an obligatory "we now have color" film moment. After that, they show Robert the multi-plane camera! This giant hunk of many moving metals is what gave all the Disney classics 3D depth. He then finds a photographer who's taking pictures of painted celluloids. The jabroni doesn't understand, and Donald literally has to come to life to explain frames. If you guys didn't know, there's 24 frames in a second, so this work is tedious. Bless all the animators and everyone who works one way or another in animation. Robert then scurries off too. Our glamorous not-so-great ape now waltzes into the ink and paint department, and now things just get surreal. This whole scene just reminds me of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
No, not that one. That one.
You gotta turn this around, Wonka!
Anyways, this also reminds me of how it's made. Trust me, just mute the audio and put the narration in the background, and you have a whole new episode right in front of you.
Let me hold it up to the light. Like it?
All right, if we could get that reindeer out of the way.
While this walking homewrecker is done sitting in the highest degree, he wanders into the model shop, where while he is checking the models out, he has made one of himself out of clay. I'm not gonna lie, if this clay bust of Robert was on the cover alone, I'd love the tape 100 times more.
See if you haven't been going on with the word, that big nose. Hey!
Quickly walking from the model shop, Schnozilla wanders right into the storyboarding room, where the storyboarders insist he listen to the story of...
Open up on the title here, see? And under that we have the opening theme music.
It's a very interesting piece telling of an infant who learns to speak and think along with the highest of intelligent beings on the planet, all the while his parents are pushed to the sidelines. It has plenty of pathos and drama, especially towards the end, and if someone was to animate this in a classic Disney style, you would be the greatest human walking the planet. But, and this is a big request if someone made this short, please, do not animate the back-to-back racial caricatures of a Chinese man and an African chief. So yeah, just a heads up. Anyways, look at all that suburban hell. Right before leaving, he notices a sketch drawing of himself, and... well...
What is that? What the fuck is that?
that right there describes his character to a point. We now enter what is my favorite room by far, and Robert gets to meet Disney animation royalty. Robert first meets Ward Kimball, who draws Goofy. Look at the work of this maestro. We then get to watch How to Ride a Horse, starring Goofy. It's a pretty good watch, and it's pretty fun. Well, of course it is. It's a Goofy short. Robert then watches legend Norm Ferguson animate Pluto in the most wonderful way possible. Finally, Robert is then escorted to... Behold, the man, the myth, the legend, Walt Disney. Robert finally meets Walt, and he starts handing him the items he had received throughout the day. And before he can tell him the idea he has, a screening suddenly begins of... It's a nice, light-hearted story with a good message and characters that you root for in the end. While it's not exactly a Disney classic in the ranks of the others, it's a good watch for just about everyone. When it was first released, many critics alluded to the dragon being...
Oh, how nice!
The points that they had presented was that he would rather read and write poetry than fight, prancing around, and his demeanor. This was around the Hays Code era, so they could have hid his homosexuality and presented him as a comedy character to bypass the law. What's the Hays Code, you ask? This is the Hays Code. But what am I supposed to know? I just collect VHS tapes, make stupid videos, and I have no qualifications for this type of conversation, but that's what learning is for. And that was Walt Disney's The Reluctant Dragon. It was a film of its time, but it's a look into Disney animation and the golden era of animation around the world. For those who love Disney animation, I would highly recommend giving this a watch. For those that love the history of animation or are getting into this wacky, wonderful world, I recommend this a watch as well. For those of you that want to casually watch something, by all means go for it, but this may not be the most entertaining movie in the world to watch honestly. So, in the infamous words of IGN, I'd give this a solid 7 out of 10.